Welcome to my unnamed series where I look back at old Wii games and see if they hold up today, and if that style of game, or at least some aspects of it, should come back and be made today for modern consoles. I give a quick description of the story if there is one, the gameplay and graphics, and any background information, if necessary. Today's look back, late 2000s Ben 10 games. Ben 10 and subsequent sequel shows are some of the greatest pieces of media I've ever intaked. The original Ben 10 series aired in 2005 on Cartoon Network, with the last episode of that continuity airing in 2014. With only 2 years later a reboot coming out in 2016. Ben 10 follows a 10-year-old boy named Ben Tennyson finding a watch, later revealed to be the Omnitrix, that can turn him into different aliens, driving cross-country with his grandpa Max and cousin Gwen. After Ben 10, Cartoon Network released Ben 10 Alien Force. It followed the same Ben, but this time as a 15-year-old with a new set of aliens. This time he still has his cousin Gwen by his side, but this time he has a now reformed villain, Kevin E11. Kevin E11. Get it? These shows became popular due to the cool aliens with their mesmerizing appearances and intriguing power sets, as well as surprisingly deep lore within the universe and compelling and relatable enough characters. I remember having an OG Omnitrix toy that said the names of the different aliens while growing up, as well as thirsting over the older Gwen Tennyson. With the show being as popular as it was, Cartoon Network decided they wanted to profit off of it even more than they were and began to produce games based off the series. The first game being Ben 10 Protector of Earth, based on the original 10-year-old version of the character. But I remember liking the 15-year-old version of the character more, probably because I was 3 when the 10-year-old version came out and 7 when the 15-year-old one did, so I probably just remember that version more. So today we're going to take a look back at some Ben 10 Alien Force games and see if those games hold up today and if these styles of games should come back. So I'm going to look at Ben 10 Alien Force the game, and Ben 10 Alien Force Vilgax Attacks. Also, the reason I'm doing the Ben 10 Alien Force version of the character is because those are the games I just happen to have. First game I played was Ben 10 Alien Force. Ben 10 Alien Force is more of a simple 3D side-scroller. It really has the feel of an old-school arcade game, just with that late 2000 Wii graphics and depth. This game only has 5 playable aliens, as well as sections where you play as Kevin and Gwen. I played the game on Hero Mode, which is the game's hard mode. The game has only 8 stages and a simple story, which I'll just quickly try to summarize and take you through the game's Spark Notes version so you can fully get the depth of the game and what its strengths and weaknesses are. The first stage of the game is called Nightmare at the Pier. Game starts off with Ben, Gwen, and Kevin going to the pier when Kevin's alien tech sensor alarm goes off, which has the alien tech located at the pier they were conveniently already headed to. Then some Forever Knights zoom past the gang, and they're clearly headed to the pier, so the team zooms over to the pier where the gameplay actually begins. So you just start the game off with Ben and the ability to transform into either Swampfire or Big Chill. This game has basic controls: joystick to move, A for light attack, B for heavy, down on the D-pad for each character or alien special attack, Z for jump, which can be comboed with A and B for light and heavy jump attacks. When playing as Ben, you could cycle between aliens with left and right on the D-pad and press up on the D-pad to transform into that alien. When an alien, you only have a limited amount of energy to stay as that alien. So when the energy runs out, you turn back into Ben and have to wait for the energy to fill back up, which takes only like 3 seconds. It's not that much of a penalty. Once you get a handle on the controls, which due to how universal these controls are, that takes like 2 seconds. You push through the pier fighting Forever Knights, being introduced to the regular Forever Knights and heavy Forever Knights, which get the job done as early game grunts. After defeating an enemy, they drop yellow orbs, which act as XP to level up, which just allows the player to unlock new combos for whichever alien they currently have unlocked. While fighting, I realized that whenever Ben transforms, his life is brought back to full. You fully heal whenever you become an alien, and even your health is brought to 0 as an alien. Instead of a game over, you just turn into a fully healed Ben, which makes this game, even in its hard mode, incredibly easy, as you just need to keep cycling back and forth between aliens, never having enough time to die. There's also breakables everywhere around the stage, which heals Ben and also refills the energy bar, allowing you to stay as an alien even longer. As you push through the pier, plowing through Forever Knights, you'll come across some basic jumping platform areas. Some jumps you seemingly need an alien to be able to pull off, as well as Big Chill's ability to glide over updraft wind chills. The platform jumping, or just non-combat parts in this game, are never too difficult, but are fun enough and a change of pace that really does help the game from getting stagnant. After going through some more platform areas and destroying even more Forever Knights, you come across some fat forearms with a plumber's badge fighting some Forever Knights. He tells Ben to leave, but Ben insists on staying and helping, and Ben tries to tell him they are probably on the same side. The Forearms finally agrees and tells Ben to head into the warehouse. We are then introduced to Laser Lance Forever Knight, which are supposed to be primarily ranged enemies, but them clubbing you with their laser lance is easily their best attack. After clearing out the warehouse of Forever Knights, Gwen and Kevin catch up, and the Forearms introduces himself as a plumber named Gorvin. Gorvin claims he's investigating the hybrid and sends the gang to an old plumber base. Gorvin, being a random plumber who shows up out of nowhere, is super fucking suspicious. But the only one who sees that is Kevin, so Ben and Gwen just essentially ignore him. After stage 1, you unlock Spider Monkey. You then also unlock the stage select screen, which allows you to replay stages which might be necessary to 100% the game, as there are some collectibles in the stage you need aliens you unlock later to get, which I never went back to get. Stage 2, called The Forest Medieval, begins when you meet Gorvin at the plumber base, and he then sends the gang to a forest to steal the alien component that the hybrid are looking for. In this stage, you're introduced to the Mounted Forever Knight, which is a crazy powerful unit, whose horse explodes when you break it. This is probably the first enemy to cause any real hardships while playing the game. So as Ben, you push through the forest fighting Forever Knights and traversing the stage using the aliens, like newly acquired Spider Monkey and their ability to climb up nets and vines. After smacking around some Forever Knights and jumping around as aliens, Ben meets up with Kevin to stake out the Forever Knight castle. They notice that you have to have the armor to pass through the defenses, so Kevin, due to his ability to absorb the metal and pass through the gates, becomes the playable character and moves forward through the castle and attempts to turn off the castle power to let Ben in. Kevin is the same as Ben in terms of combat moves when he's normal, but when Kevin absorbs material, he becomes shielded, which can be broken, and he then has rock throwing ability and ground smash attacks. Kevin has wood, rock, and metal absorbables throughout the stage, and seemingly the metal is the strongest, stone the second, and wood is the weakest absorbable. So Kevin kills a bunch of Forever Knights throughout the stage, where you're introduced to Ninja Forever Knights, which throw ninja stars and move very fast. He pushes through the castle, which is a boring backdrop, pass through gates while metal, and complete basic circle, square to square, and electric current puzzles. Fighting as Kevin isn't the best, and is only doable when he has an absorbable, which there normally is one in each fighting area, except for one little area where there is no absorbable, and the breakables don't even always drop health, and it is fucking impossible on hard mode. I died repeatedly and had to drop the difficulty to finally pass through the area. I mean, seriously, who the fuck designed this stage? Fighting as Kevin already isn't that much fun, and you make it an area without an absorbable? Anyway, once out, I brought the difficulty back up to hero mode. So finally, with one last puzzle, with enemy waves in between each piece, Kevin turns off the power and allows Ben to come through, and you switch back to playing Ben. Thank God. Kevin was a decent idea, but when the game is Ben 10, playing as one guy that just changes elements, it's only entertaining for about 10 minutes. I thought it would be a decent gimmick for the game, but I hope the rest of the game is just Ben. It is not. You then play as Ben defeating waves of Forever Knights, unlocking new alien combos, and then finally find the alien component, which is guarded by a Forever Knight dragon, which is an interesting choice considering their history with dragons. This is the first boss fight in the game, and is actually, in my opinion, the best one. The first stage, the dragon just breathes fire around him, and all you have to do is throw projectile attacks at him. Second stage, the dragon breathes a protective fire line around it, and it swings its claw out. The claw gets stuck in the ground, so just stay back and hit the claw when it's stuck. In its final stage, the dragon does a flying dash attack, and you just have to stay to the side to avoid it. And the dragon then lands and does stage 1 again. So while it's a simple and easy boss, it's still the better one, which is more likely just an insult to the other bosses in the game. After beating the dragon, Ben gets an alien component, and then you're just awkwardly teleported back with the team to the plumber base. No transition whatsoever. And Gorvin takes the alien component and hides it. Gorvin is still acting very suspicious. And also, after Stage 2, you unlock Jet Ray. Stage 3, or Bombs Away, has Gorvin send the team to the desert to find another alien component. I probably sensing a theme in all these missions. Kevin drives up on Fort Harper Missile Base, which, because of the missile test, uncovered that alien component. The game then shows a good understanding of the characters, as they have a decent banner, which results in Kevin staying behind because he got his feelings hurt.
Hey, I know what that is. It's part of an industrial water conditioning system. They use it on aquatic worlds to lower the ambient temperature near geothermal vents.
I thought your alien tech knowledge was limited to weapons and auto parts. What did you do, brush up against a scientist and accidentally absorb his brain?
Hey, it's not like you guys get to corner the market on geekiness. I know stuff too. Like, well, a lot of stuff.
Gorvin, Kevin, aren't you coming?
Nah, maybe we should all just stick to what we know. You go and fight alien bad guys, and I'll just sit here and think about auto parts.
Ben and Gwen decide to split up, with Ben continuing through the above-ground entrance of the fort and Gwen exploring the tunnels. So you start the stage as Ben, heading towards the entrance to the missile base, and are introduced to Pickaxe Alien Brawler, which makes this stage's boss pretty easy to guess. They're just the tiny alien grunts for this stage, who, despite the name, don't actually have pickaxes. While playing through this part, my game completely froze, showing the age of the game and the console. I had to restart my recording and my game. I had to restart the stage as well, but that turned out to be a good thing, as while I was playing the game, I was watching Game Grumps, and my recording picked up that audio as well. I quickly played to the point where I was, which goes by a lot quicker when you're not taking notes every 5 seconds. So Ben smacks around the tiny pickaxe aliens and reaches the fort's entrance, which is down and locked. So he then switched to playing as Gwen. Gwen's special is becoming temporarily, as long as she has her energy, invincible. She also has projectile disc and the ability to grab and throw aliens around. Fighting as Gwen, while not as fun as Ben, is a lot more entertaining than Kevin, as she has more fighting combos. Gwen moves forward through the tunnels, fighting the Chihuahua-sized pickaxe aliens, and completing panel/button mashing mini-games to open up the gate for Ben. You switch back again to playing as Ben. Get ready to hear that a lot. You're introduced to Pickaxe Alien, which is the same as the Brawler, but this one actually has a pickaxe, which explodes when the wielder is defeated. And not too long after, you're introduced to Pickaxe Alien Blaster, which is the same little alien, but their pickaxes can shoot lasers out. So then Ben absolutely destroys those little alien fucks and reaches an uncrossable missile silo that needs to be closed, so you switch back to Gwen. So Gwen has to soldier past the little aliens in tunnel until she comes into a control room with a memory minigame, where she closes the silos, and you, once again, switch back to Ben. Ben moves forward until there's a random beam in his way, and then surprisingly, you have to switch to Gwen. Again. Gwen breaks the generators, beaming a crystal, and then you switch, shockingly, back to Ben. And Gwen makes stairs for Ben to cross, but she is for no reason quick to pull those stairs away, killing her cousin. But anyway, Ben goes to where the component is on the map and is meted by Volcanus, shocking absolutely no one. Volcanus boss time. Volcanus is an easy fight. There are missiles lying on the ground that could just be blown up on Volcanus with projectile attacks. Jet Ray is ideal for this fight. The fight takes all of 2 minutes and has no form switches or multi-stages, leaving the fight feeling too quick and underwhelming. I would have loved a baby-sized Volcanus stage. Ben grabs the component and is immediately back in the plumber base. Weird. Again. Gorvin is given the component and Ben tells him that Volcanus was in his way, and Gorvin alludes to needing to kill him, which he then tries to backtrack to make himself not seem suspicious. But that was way too late. Ben begins to side with Kevin that Gorvin seems extremely suspicious.
Wait. You what now?
And since Kevin and Ben never agree, Gwen decides that must mean something, and they all decide to investigate Gorvin. Stage 4, A Few Bad Eggs, begins with Gorvin telling the team the next component is in a small mountain town. Gorvin then gets an urgent call that he takes, but hides while he does. But before he leaves, he tells the entire team to go to the mountains. Ben goes to the town himself, telling Gwen and Kevin to stay behind to investigate Gorvin while he retrieves the component. Ben then begins to push through the town. While doing so, you are finally introduced to the hybrid, first with the Xenocytes and the DNA aliens, which have range attacks that freeze you for about 2 seconds. The stage is the only one in the game where the environment affects combat, where the hills in this town make some range attack abilities hard to hit, at least against the tiny-ass Xenocytes. Ben moves through the town until he comes across a water fountain, which Ben breaks and drops down into some hybrid tunnels. This might be the only stage with any real change in the backdrop. After moving through the tunnels, Ben discovers that the component is powering a hybrid hatchery. The component is protected by some kind of force field powered by 3 generators. Ben then must switch off the generators, but has a minute to do so in between each switch flip, and must battle hybrid grunts in that minute before he can flip that switch. Ben then takes the component, which causes the hatchery to collapse. And Ben has a show-like transformation into Jet Ray and escapes in time with the component. This transformation is the only one in the game like this, and honestly feels kind of out of place. Stage 5, aka Plumber Trouble, has Ben come back with a component ready to hear what Gwen and Kevin discovered about Gorvin while he was out risking his life. They found nothing. They were just stuck staring at a computer that was password protected by Grandpa Max. Gwen wasn't able to guess the password, but Ben does it first try, showing us what we all assumed: he's the better grandkid. The computer plays a video from Grandpa Mac, saying that Gorvin was a former plumber, but he was caught stealing and selling alien tech. And Max says Gorvin is to be considered extremely dangerous. Ben has the shocking realization that they have been stealing and doing all the dirty work for Gorvin. While Gwen and Ben weren't looking, Kevin went down the tunnel Gorvin disappeared to, in hopes of finding him. Kevin finds hybrid alien tech and their eggs everywhere. Kevin calls out Gorvin, but Gorvin, who was watching Kevin, taunts him and sends out xenocytes to attack him, and they attach themselves to him. The game then cuts back to Ben, who starts to run down the tunnel looking for Kevin. Then the gameplay for the stage actually starts, with Ben fighting through D and aliens, while making his way through the caves, while being introduced to new aliens like the D and alien commander, which is just a D and alien with a gun, and some basic waiting electric fence puzzles, if I can even call them that. There's also a needless cutscene of Ben walking. It's just in the game for no reason. While playing through this stage, you'll unlock all the possible combos for the aliens. This is before even unlocking the final alien. After fighting through waves of D and aliens, Ben finds an infected Kevin. Ben attempts to cure him, but infected Kevin fights against it, starting off a boss fight against Kevin. There are 3 absorbables in the stage for Kevin: wood, stone, and metal. While in absorbed form, Kevin is shielded and can shred through any alien form of Ben's if you're not careful to dodge his attacks. You have to break through his absorbed form before he becomes unabsorbed and is able to be hit. Once he is in normal form, however, he would immediately go to an absorbable and become one of his absorbed forms again. He also heals himself whenever he absorbs. It took me way too long and a lot of ass whoopings before I realized I could break Kevin's absorbables, leaving him unabsorbed and super easy to defeat. After beating Kevin's ass, Ben cures Kevin. They have some dialogue highlighted by a bad joke.
What happened?
I found you in here. You were antisocial, angry, and had a xenocyte stuck to you.
And now I'm back to normal?
Yep, no more xenocyte. Now you're just antisocial and angry.
Nice.
And Ben tells Kevin to go back and find Gwen, while Ben continues through the cave to find Gorvin. Have to fight some aliens and pass through a red light, green light puzzle, with the second part of the puzzle being almost impossible because I cannot see it. I just had to jet ray over the whole puzzle. Not fun. The puzzle problem was a great showcase of one of the game's biggest technical flaws, and that is the set and oftentimes not good enough field of view. Ben then finally finds Gorvin, who reveals he works for the hybrid, and the long-awaited Gorvin fight begins. Gorvin, interesting enough, doesn't start the fight at full health, and is the only boss to do so. This is because, of course, he has a healing pad, which is the gimmick for this boss fight. You can destroy the healing pads or the Rejuvenator's power source.
The Rejuvenator!
While also fighting Gorvin, he has a rush attack, which he then gets tired afterwards. So just dodge the rush, then wail on him while he is vulnerable. Ben then puts Gorvin in a holding cell, off-screen, and the team discovers they have a very important energy source. The hybrid leader then attacks the team and steals the energy source. Luckily, the energy source gives off a strong enough signal for the team to track, which they track down to a hybrid super weather tower. After stage 5, you finally unlock Humongosaur, giving you access to all 5 playable aliens in the game. Stage 6, Royal Rumble, has the team driving to the weather array. The team splits up, with Gwen and Kevin taking the scenic route, I guess, while Ben has to fight through a shit ton of D&A aliens. While Ben works his way to the entrance, you get introduced to Vulpamancer and Pyronite D&A aliens. Probably the coolest design enemies of the game. It's a nice callback to the original Ben 10, with a tie-in to the major villain of the current series. Ben pushes through small rural houses, having to use aliens to get through, mainly spider monkeys climbing, and swamp fire burning through giant hay bales. Gwen and Kevin radio in that they're getting close to the weather array. Ben says he found the command ship, and says he has a new plan, to launch the ship, believing it would depower the weather array. Stage 7, aptly named Running on Autopilot, has Ben finding the entrance to the control ship, and as he's about to enter, Gwen warns him not to go, but...
Ben, you go inside. Probably a trap.
Gwen? I'm losing you. It must be interference from the ship.
Ben, don't go in.
Sorry, Gwen. I can't hear you. I'm going in. I'll contact you as soon as I can.
Understandably, he couldn't understand her, and goes in anyway. Ben, in the ship, has to flip a bunch of switches and press a couple of buttons as Humongosaur. So to get all the switches and buttons, you have to fight a bunch of grunts and complete a couple puzzles. Most annoyingly, the Spider Monkey electric ball puzzle. Spider Monkey crawls slow as hell. Has an annoying hitbox, no rest point on this puzzle, and I kept getting knocked off. Now, the footage of me playing this the first time was unusable, so I had to replay it to record this. And of course, when I replayed it, I had no problem and breezed through this. So through the stage, Ben is transported all around the ship, fighting D and aliens, until he finally comes across an elevator, which takes him to the control of the ship. There, he finds a zero-gravity switch, which will allow him to flip the final switches on the ceiling. Before Ben can flick the switch, the Hybrid Commander interrupts him, and a boss fight ensues. Now, you don't actually fight the Hybrid Commander, you just break some tubes to temporarily freeze him when Ben flips the zero-gravity switch, then one of the switches on the ceiling. This repeats 4 times while the Hybrid Commander summons Xenocytes to annoy Ben during the fight. Once Ben flicks all the switches, the Hybrid Commander is like, "You fool!" and reveals that the command ship leaving doesn't deactivate the weather array, it turns it on. Ben then just gets tossed out of the ship. Now the towers are on and will soon freeze that part of the world. The team must now rush to destroy them. Stage 8, A Change in the Weather, starts off with Gwen and Kevin from the perspective of when Gwen tried to warn Ben. Kevin and Gwen decide to take out the Weather Array's command center, first needing to take out the force fields, so they decide to divide and conquer. But before they head out, Kevin does something completely out of character. He compliments Ben.
I hope Ben will be alright.
Don't worry, he can take care of himself. He's pretty tough. And if you ever tell him I said that, I'll deny it. Come on, let's get going.
So first you play as Kevin, taking out aliens and destroying the generators. The generators are also protected by giant guns that can be pretty annoying. While playing as Kevin, just camp next to the available absorbable and you'll be fine. Kevin takes out all of his generator, then heads to the rendezvous point. The game then switches over to you playing as Gwen. She just has to do the same thing as Kevin, fight aliens and break generators. The turrets, laser cannon, and aliens can turn parts of these stages into absolute clusterfucks. Anyways, once Gwen is done destroying her generators, she meets up with Kevin. They decide they must destroy the towers, but say they don't know with their powers how they'd be able to do it. At that moment, Ben conveniently shows back up. He says he'll destroy the towers. You play as Bigger Humongousaur and climb up the weather tower, stomping on Dean aliens and destroying turrets, which is easy with just having to down B each one of them. You get to the top of the tower and destroy it. You then switch back to normal Ben and have to destroy the generator, causing a force field around Tower 2. Then, you go back to playing as Big Humongousaur and have to destroy the tower. This tower has shock pads and feels noticeably harder than Tower 1. It feels like to beat this tower, you have to block, which I haven't done all game, except to look at Swampfire's crotch.
Oh, yeah?
Destroy Tower 2, which has the exact same cutscene as when you do as Tower 1. Then once again you play as Ben to destroy the generator for Tower 3. This tower's new gimmick is the platforms to climb up the tower are spinning around it. Ben then takes down the third and final tower. They still need to destroy the command computer, which Ben plays with, and accidentally initiates a self-destruct sequence. The team then walks away victorious, but then the camera pans back to the computer, still being intact and left behind, seemingly hinting at a sequel that never came. This game is a pretty fun side-scrolling beat-em-up. The game has decent platforming at times, though not often or that challenging. The aliens they choose for the game are great picks, but with the game being Ben 10, only being able to play as 5 aliens feels cheap. The game has a basic story, but for how short the game is, I say it fits it just fine. The bosses in the game are usually a letdown, with maybe only the dragon being a good one. This game has the feel of an older arcade game, which explains the simplicity of it, but it also has that unexplainable fun. Sometimes games go too much with layers and overcomplicating it. This game may lack any real depth, but it's perfect for playing while either watching something else or just mindlessly to play through. I'd either give this game a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. There isn't much in the game, but what is there gets the job done that every game should be aiming for, and that is to be fun. Ben 10 Vilgax Attack still has the feel of an arcade game, with simple linear missions, waves of enemies, and boss fights at the end of each stage, but this time utilizing the full 3D space and having more involved and complex puzzles. And when I say complex, I just mean in comparison to Ben 10 Alien Force. This game has a 10 alien roster, while some are not always available, a much less involved combo system, and more unique stages, as this game takes place across multiple worlds in the Ben 10 universe. So I'll just go over the game and story like I did for Alien Force. The game begins with Vilgax's ship flying in and over the city. Inside the ship, Vilgax is evil laughing, claiming the Earth will be his. Vilgax commands his lackey, Poseidon? I have no idea how to say that, to turn on a null void projector, which rains down essentially an army for Vilgax in his assault on Earth. Poseidon is sent down to oversee the ground assault, and Vilgax claim he wants Ben's head, but he'll have to get in line. Poseidon flies down to Earth and crashes his ship, pulling a special agent Oso.
I meant to do that.
It's all part of the plan. More or less.
Poseidon sends the alien army out to find Ben, who is like 20 yards away. Ben is about to attack. I think he was going to use Alien X to try and reverse the assault, but Professor Paradox appears out of nowhere and stops him, telling him he shouldn't use Alien X just yet, all while speaking in his confusing, tense talk.
Greetings all. Good to see you again. Or should I say in the future, it will be good to have seen you before. Time travel can make verb tenses so very confusing.
He then disappears again, and the gang decides to split up to deal with the assault in different areas. You then get to play as Ben, starting off in an area way different than what the cutscene showed. The controls in the game are almost identical to Alien Force, which makes sense as they were both published by the same publisher, D3 Publisher. A for light attacks, B for heavy, Z for jump, Z plus A and B for jump attacks, C to block, down on the D-pad for the special, left and right on the D-pad to cycle through aliens, and then up to transform. This game has double the aliens as Alien Force, with 10. This game has the same 5 aliens as Alien Force, with Spider Monkey, Humongosaur, Swampfire, Big Chill, and Jet Ray. Now, plus Cannonbolt, Goop, Brainstorm, Echo, and Chromastone. You can also press plus to focus the camera to the objective, hold minus to control the camera, which is an absolutely massive upgrade over Alien Force. This game uses this first stage as a tutorial, where Grandpa Max is the voice of the tutorial, some Gwen as well. You push through the city fighting basic Vilgakrunks with bioids and drones, and solve different puzzles using the different alien forms. Spider Monkey climbs pipes and web swings across designated spots. Big Chill glides. Humongosaur clears road blockages and opens giant doors/vaults. And Brainstorm, who hacks different computers. This is done through mini games on the terminal, which are pretty engaging and a nice addition to the game. And new puzzles are seemingly added for each stage of the game, so they never get stale. So while playing as Ben, you fight some Vilgax grunts and make your way through town until you make your way to a warehouse, which is never stated why you're there, so it all feels pretty random and unnecessary to be going in there. While in there, you complete a couple puzzles and be introduced to new Vilgax enemies. As soon as the roof is blown off the warehouse from Vilgax lackeys flying overhead, you just leave and head back to the town streets, accomplishing nothing in the warehouse, so it makes absolutely no sense as to why you were there. After being in the streets for a minute, Ben climbs atop a building and meets Poseidon. They have the standard "we're taking the Earth, no you're not" conversation, then you go back to combat.
Earth as you know it will no longer exist. The new age of Vilgax has begun.
Nobody messes with my planet!
Why do you even bother trying? You cannot win.
You fight Vilgax goons while Poseidon throws grenades from a safe distance. To get to Poseidon, he must first blow up a generator to de-electrify an electric tower, then cross over the roof to where Poseidon is. There, Poseidon and Ben have more generic hero-villain dialogue.
Surrender, Ben 10, and Vilgax may just spare your life.
Ooh, I'm so scared!
Your days as a hero are over, Omnitrix bearer.
Poseidon boss fight time. Poseidon will shield himself and rain down laser fire, which you just have to avoid the red circles and you're fine. Poseidon will then start throwing grenades, where he is vulnerable during the stage, so just wail on him then. He cycles through those two phases until you finally beat him. After beating his ass, he will bring Mr. Smoothie to life, which also happens in the show, but this time Ben doesn't have Upchuck to chug him down. All Mr. Smoothie does is punch and kick and spew some kind of poison out of his straw. To beat him, just stay back and projectile him, and occasionally come in close to melee him, but when you do so, you'll probably lose some health. After beating Mr. Smoothie, he runs off crying, but then turns massive, where Ben turns into each of his aliens, with each landing their own special hit. Finally ending with Ben turning into Goop, going inside of him and killing him. Different hole, but kind of like Ant-Man and Thanos. After the fight, Azimuth appears mad at Ben for using the Omnitrix recklessly, with all those quick transformations. As he tells Ben the Omnitrix is powered down and will stay that way, and that he needs to be more careful. Azimuth then disappears, but Kevin and Gwen meet back up with Ben. As they're talking, Paradox shows back up, and since they don't have the power to stop the invasion currently happening, Paradox takes them back in time to prevent it. Paradox then shows them a message from Max, telling the team they need to go to Vulpin, where Vilgax is attempting to get an energy core that is powerful enough to power a null void projector. Sounds familiar. So Ben calls for ship, and they fly off to Vulpin. There is then a ship, asteroid alien ship destroying minigame. That's the game way of saying they are switching stages, and as a sign that this is a good point to stop. After the ship minigame, the team lands at Vulpin, which is a seemingly toxic wasteland. At the landing zone, they don't find Grandpa Max, but they find a plumber's badge with a message from him. Get ready for that to happen a lot. The message says Vilgax already took Vulpin and its refinery to work on producing alien tech for him, but hasn't gotten the energy core yet and tells Ben to intercept the core before Vilgax can get it. Ben tells Gwen and Kevin to stay back in case Vilgax comes. So you play as Ben working your way to the refinery. On this stage, the number of aliens is reduced, having only access to Spider Monkey, Humongosaur, Big Chill, Swampfire, and Cannabolt. Somehow losing Goop, Brainstorm, Jetray, Echo, and Chromastone. With no real explanation. Ben overused the Omnitrix, but was then sent back in time, so he shouldn't have it locked. Anyway, as you play, you face new, better Vilgax grunts, like shielded bioids and new enemies like Vulpamonsters. Yeah, a good thing Ben 10 teaches that the locals of the area are the enemies, and you plowing through their home is a good thing. Then you come across a mini-boss for the stage, just two random giant snakeheads. They have gassy breaths which Swampfire can explode. I say they're two separate snakes because when one head explodes, the other is just fine. For traversing the stage, you learn that there are ramps that Cannabolt can shoot up and over with. I also have some problems with double jumping in this game, so the controls don't feel quite optimized. Which I feel even during this time that this came out, this should not have been an issue. Anyway, as you work through the stage, you then blow up the head of a giant robot to enter the refinery. In the refinery, there's more aliens to fight and more alien traversal puzzles, and learn that Cannabolt can act as a gear to help progress through the stage. Eventually, Ben finds Octagon and Rhomboid. They're the boss fight for this stage. You just have to get the brothers to hit and confuse each other and whack them while they're dazed. Gas also leaks up and can be exploded by Swampfire. After beating the brothers, the energy core is exposed, which Ben then destroys, causing the refinery to explode. Ben then finds another message from Max, saying he's headed to Terradino, which turns out to be Humongosaur's homeworld. Stop Vilgax from getting an energy core there. So the team gets back in the ship and heads to Terradino to try and meet up with Grandpa Max, leading to another ship minigame, which are skippable, actually. The team lands in Terradino, a more foresty environment. There they don't find Max, but instead find a message from him saying Vilgax took the planet, but not the energy core yet. Sound familiar? This time the energy core is in a temple instead of an old ugly factory. So you would play as Ben moving through the jungle and into the temple. This time the same aliens as last stages are still available, now with Goop unlocked as well. While fighting, you find more upgraded Vilgax enemies, but now we're introduced to a literal grunt, a big tank, and a rock monster, which act just like Vulpamonsters. This stage really shines with puzzles inside the temple. Some are annoying block-moving puzzles, but there are cool multi-alien skill puzzles, highlights being the snake climb and the Humongosaur ring tower thing. After being in the temple for a while, you come into a chamber where you find Charmcaster, who is this stage's boss. She sits atop pillars and summons super rock monsters. Beat those and then destroy the pillar she sits on and then attack her. This cycles for a while until the last pillar that needs Cannabolt to unlock the ring for Humongosaur to destroy the pillar. Then land the last couple hits on Charmcaster. After defeating her, the energy core is revealed and Ben destroys it, causing the temple to collapse. Another theme you'll see throughout this game. While Ben is looking through the rubble, Gwen starts to shoot at him because she didn't realize it was him. Somehow. Then, while the team is in the broken temple, they somehow find a plumber badge. Of all the random plumber badges found, this one makes the least amount of sense. The message from Max says there's another energy core, and that he's headed to... Oh my gosh, how do you even say this? Encephalonis 4. The home of Brainstorm, and then Ben needs to get there before Vilgax. He tells Ben that one of his old enemies is there waiting for him, but due to Ben's enemy list, that doesn't really narrow it down.
Watch yourself. Your old enemy. and he's looking to get revenge on you.
Who?
I couldn't tell who he said.
How many mortal enemies do you have, Tennyson?
We better be ready for anything.
Regardless, the team once again hops back into the ship and flies off to try and meet up with Grandpa Max. So the team lands and Gwen and Kevin stay back again. Ben has to scale up a scary-looking research facility with dark clouds and lightning crackling in the background. This stage has the same aliens as last stage, but now they've added Brainstorm back in, bringing the alien count up to 7, with Spider Monkey, Humongosaur, Big Chill, Swampfire, Cannonbolt, Goop, and now Brainstorm. This game is the same as every other stage, introduces upgraded Vilgax villains you have to fight through waves of, and a new stage-exclusive enemy, with this one being the Cyber Squid, which is a drone but with an electric area of effect attack. Brainstorm now has a new traversal ability where he can redirect lasers with his big brain. This is on top of his ability to interact with computer terminals, so not so surprisingly, to traverse around his home world, Brainstorm is used a lot in this stage. Also, while playing through this stage, I was blessed with hearing Cannonbolt's death sound. So after climbing up the tower of Spider Monkey and traveling through the facility in subways, you enter what seems to be the research facility's main room. There, the enemy that was waiting for Ben is revealed to be Darkstar, which was weird for me because while I was playing this game and working on this video, I was watching Ben 10 Alien Force, and I had just watched the episode in which Darkstar is introduced, and he shows up right after. Felt weird, almost too coincidental. He might be the easiest boss fight in the game. He can absorb your health when he shields, so just keep your distance and spam projectile attacks. A nice touch is when he's half health, his helmet falls off, and you can see his ugly ass face. So once you beat Darkstar, Ben once again breaks the energy core and meets back up with Gwen and Kevin. They find, once again, another message from Max. He says his messages might be being intercepted and says the last core is in Aner Phaetos. Vilgax then interrupts the message, challenges Ben to beat him to the core, seemingly teasing him and proving that he is in fact intercepting the messages. So the team hops right back into ship and flies off. While on ship, Ben is flying and Kevin is backseat driving. It turns out that Aner Phaetos isn't actually another planet, but a different dimension. The team is beginning to lose hope, but then Ben and Gwen's grandma shows up and teleports them to Aner Phaetos. Ben leaves the ship and is greeted by Ghost Freak, who just kind of teases him and then fades away. So you take back control of Ben and navigate through Aner Phaetos, which is almost like a dream nightmare world with many sections floating around and also spikes and dark voids that can suck in the player. The player has access to the same aliens as before, but now Echo Echo is once again available, bringing the alien count to 8. This stage is the only one without any Vilgax enemies, as instead you fight Ectoneurites, which are intangible until you break a light source that stuns them and makes them able to be hit. Echo Echo uses his traversability of leaving behind a copy on a button to keep it pushed, while the main Echo Echo moves forward. After making your way through Aner Phaetos, you finally come across Ghost Freak again, and have the stage boss fight against him. Ghost Freak is the same as other Ectoneurites, where he can't be hit until you break in for a light source. So it was kind of a disappointing boss, being it was just the same fighting mechanic as every other enemy in the stage. Ghost Freak can also throw out those dark sucking voids, which are so fucking annoying and can seemingly go through anything. I found it easiest in the fight to just roll around the outer barrier as Cannonbolt to avoid the dark spots, and then when he comes in close, break the free light and wail on him with Cannonbolt's special attack. After beating Ghost Freak, Ben, for the millionth time, breaks the energy core. Then off screen, Ben meets back up with the team somehow. Grandma is gone and the team has no idea how to get back home. Then Paradox conveniently shows up out of nowhere to help them out and move along the plot easily, like he always does. Paradox teleports the team out of Aner Phaetos and plays them another message from Grandpa Max, saying that another energy core is being created on a planet Mor Otesi. A scientist there is about to finish it and doesn't know that Vilgax has manipulated him to do so, so the gang does the unexpected and jumps into ship and flies where the hologram Max told them to go. The team lands on Mor Otesi and Gwen tracks down the scientist using her energy powers. The team then finds Cooper, who they explain to that he's been used by Vilgax. Cooper then tells them where his tech is being held, and you then start playing as Ben, heading toward the research lab. This stage gives you access to Chromazone, giving you access to 9 aliens, bringing you one away from the game's original 10. Chromastone's traversability is his ability to power some machinery with his energy beam, which does make sense due to the planet seemingly using crystals as a power source for everything. Echo Echo also gets a new traverse ability in this stage, as his Echo Blast can break crystals blocking your path. So like every other stage in this game, you fight through waves of Vilgax grunts, including upgraded versions of older enemies, and traverse through the stage using all the different alien forms of Ben. This stage is probably the best in utilizing and mixing up the different alien forms you need to use to get around the stage. So Ben first moves through a crystal processing plant, then the actual mine, and then finally the research facility. There in the research facility you find Cooper's research lab. In there you are met by Albedo. In the Albedo fight he progresses through using Goop, then Jet Ray to Swamp Fire, and finally Humongosaur. Just let Albedo get his special off and dodge it, and then hit him with a special attack of your own while he finishes his attack animation. Just repeat that until he's dead. Albedo is a pretty interesting boss as he uses characters you've been using the whole game against you, and actually has multi-stages in this fight. After beating Albedo, you once again break the energy core. Then the gang meets back up with Ben inside the research facility, with this time Grandpa Max finally catching up with them. Max says there is one last energy core. It's in the Null Void, and is actually in his stash of technology from when he was stuck there. The team only has the ability to send one person into the Null Void, and they'll have to use the energy core to get back. So, obviously Ben goes, but not before a heartwarming pep talk.
Good luck, Ben. I know you can do this.
The whole world is depending on you.
No pressure.
So, you play as Ben trying to go through the Null Void. The Null Void is just kind of like Anor Phaetos, but with a red tint, with the flying sections of the stage. This stage doesn't actually introduce any new enemy grunts, and is the first one to do so. This stage also unlocks the last of the 10 aliens, Jet Ray. Jet Ray has the ability to jet over large gaps in the Null Void. Not much else to say about this stage until you find Grandpa Max's tech stash, but it seems Dr. Anemo has taken up home here. So this stage's boss fight begins. Dr. Anemo is invulnerable, but there are crystals all around the stage that seemingly give him a power. The game even goes as far to show a cutscene of Big Chill freezing them, letting the player know what they have to do to be able to hit Anemo. After hitting on Anemo for a bit, he summons Null Guardians to rain down some laser fire. After finally beating Dr. Anemo, Ben uses the last energy core to teleport back onto ship with the team. Ben then gives a photo of back when Ben and Gwen were kids, and it's a nice heartwarming moment in the game. So the team heads back to Earth. So they finally return to Earth, which is still somehow overrun by Null Void monsters, which by the way is never really explained. Vilgax still has the Null Void cannon, and it still works, so what was the importance of us destroying all those energy cores? But whatever, they're there. So the team stays back to fend off some monsters, while Ben heads forward to find and fight Vilgax. As you push through the town, there are no traversal puzzles. It's just a series of 3 Null Void monster mini-bosses, which while surprising is a nice change of pace. After beating the 3rd mini-boss, Vilgax teleports Ben up to his ship, and they have some villain-hero banter.
Long time since you've been in my presence.
How many times do I have to defeat you, Vilgax, before you get the hint?
You're not going to stop my plans this time, Ben 10. You and your precious planet are no more.
Yeah, I'm gonna rue the day, blah blah blah. Can we fight now?
And it's final boss time. Vilgax is legitimately scary, like he's actually menacing, which maybe it's because of reasons outside of the game, but very few games nowadays make me actually scared of the final boss, if the game even has one. Vilgax has laser hands, flame blade, wind breath, a laser gun, and a shield bash run, so reverse to try to avoid his attacks and hit him a bunch. After a quarter of his health is gone, he becomes invulnerable and keeps shield rushing you, and if you don't do anything, he'll heal his health up all the way. During his invulnerable stage, you have to make him run into a Null Void laser, which makes him vulnerable without healing and spawns in a bunch of bioids. Just keep hitting him while these stages cycle through. This fight was actually pretty good, with a nice balance of enemy attack variety, stage environment involvement, and not quite different stages, but different approaches from Vilgax. After beating Vilgax, Poseidon grabs an energy core, so he didn't break them all. He then points the cannon at Ben and fires, but Paradox tells Ben now it's time for Ben to go Alien X. So after the 3-headed Alien X conversation, Ben reverses the Null Void cannon's laser, sucking in Poseidon and Vilgax, and even Vilgax's ship. Ben then turns back into human, and Azimuth congratulates Ben 10 and powers up the Omnitrix. Roll credits! This game is the perfect Ben 10 experience an arcade-like style Ben 10 game can get. I would compare Ben 10 Alien Force and Ben 10 Alien Force Vilgax Attacks, but Vilgax Attacks is better in every way. It has great puzzles that utilize the different alien forms of Ben, great bosses at the end of each stage. You actually travel across different planets as Ben and see the scope of the Ben 10 lore. you're also actually able to play as 10 aliens in this game, unlike the 5 in Alien Force. So if these kind of games were to come back, it should be like Vilgax Attacks. But now the question becomes, should they? Yes. These types of games are fun and use a property that I feel still has an audience that cares for it. Now, admittedly, I don't know or care if the new Ben 10 reboot has games. I think they should revisit the old continuity and make some games like this. Now, these games should be like $10. It's only 8 hours of gameplay and not that much replayability. Given that it's an established IP, maybe I could see 20, but that is the absolute max this game should be priced at. Thank you for watching, please like and subscribe, and now here's a little sneak peek at the next episode in this series.
Is the mission complete? The mission complete? The mission complete? The mission.